Before the years of the sun, when the two trees still stood in the Undying Lands, the Noldor Elves, known for their mastery of lore and smithcraft, lived in peace with the Valar and other elven clans, until Feanor, greatest smith of the Noldor, used light from the two trees to craft the most precious jewels ever made, the likes of which could never be reproduced, even by Feanor himself. The Silmarils, as they were named, were 3 gems of extraordinary beauty. Varda, the Star Queen, would bless the jewels, so that no unclean hands or evil could touch them. Though the creation of the Silmarils marked a milestone in the age of peace and beauty that was the noontide of Valinor, it would also be a catalyst for war and set the House of Feanor upon a path to ruin. Melkor, chief enemy of the Valar, would kill Feanor's father, Finwë, and steal the Silmarils, aided by the Ungoliant, and together they fled to Middle-earth. Feanor, enraged by the theft and murder of his father, swore the oath of Feanor, invoking the name of Eru and vowing to recover the Silmarils at all costs, pledging to kill any that stand in his way. His 7 sons followed him in taking the oath, and most of the Noldor were persuaded by his words to leave Valinor and wage war against the Dark Lord. Though the Valar tried to stop them, Feanor could not be dissuaded, and he led his people to the shores of Aman. There they demanded the use of Teleri ships to travel east. The Teleri refused, and so the Noldor attacked in the first Kinslaying, killing any who stood in his way. After the battle, the Noldor stole the ships and sailed for Beleriand. However, the ships were not sufficient for all their people, so Fingolfin, Feanor's brother, stayed behind with a second group, awaiting the return of the ships. When Feanor arrived in Middle-earth, he had the ships burned, abandoning his brother and the remaining Noldor. Fingolfin would continue forward in any case, traveling through the treacherous northern pass of Helcaraxe, losing many along the way. All those who participated in the kinslaying were cursed by Mandos, banned from returning to the Undying Lands. Over in Beleriand, Feanor and his sons were ready to lead their people to war, but war had already come. Before the Noldor had traveled east, the Sindar Elves of Doriath under King Elu Thingol, the Lyquendi Elves under King Denethor, and the Sindar Elves of the Havens, led by Lord Círdan, the shipwright, had led their people in the first battle of Beleriand, countering Morgoth's attempted conquest of the north. Though the elves were largely victorious, the win was costly, with King Denethor dying in battle. The Lyquendi returned to their homes, vowing never again to participate in the elven wars against Morgoth. Lord Círdan's forces, who attacked from the west, were defeated and forced to retreat to their cities, where they were held under siege. With the armies of Doriath exhausted and King Thingol unable to raise a force sufficient to lift the siege, it would be the Noldor that brought the western cities relief. With the forces of Feanor arriving in the north, Morgoth diverted his forces, lifting the siege to attempt wiping out the Noldor before they could establish themselves properly. This led to the Dagor Nuin Giliath, or the Battle Under the Stars, where the elves defeated the Dark Lord forces, slaughtering his orc army. Feanor, still enraged and seeking blood, followed the survivors to Angband, killing all he could find. Yet soon he found himself surrounded, as a great number of Balrogs came forth from the mountains. Feanor stood his ground, killing many before he himself was struck down by Gothmog, their captain. Feanor's sons arrive with a Noldor host and drive back the Balrog army, able to reach their father before his death. However, his wounds were too severe to save him, and so he cursed Angband 3 times before passing away, with his fiery spirit burning his body to ash at the moment of his death. Shortly after Feanor's demise, the Noldor elves following Fingolfin would reach Middle-earth and immediately face an attacking orc army. At the Battle of Lhammoth, the Noldor would be victorious, but Fingolfin's youngest son, Aragorn, would die in the fighting. With the arrival of the Noldor, the Sindar Elves under King Thingol returned to their homeland, with Queen Melian using her Maiar powers to place a protective shield called the Girdle of Melian over their territory, hiding them from the dark forces of Morgoth. And after learning of the first kinslaying, they banned the Noldor from entering their lands. Though Lord Círdan and his forces continued the fight, the Noldor largely took over the war. Maedhros, first son of Feanor, inherited the kingship of the Noldor, but after being rescued from captivity by Finrod, son of Fingolfin, he passed the kinship onto his uncle, and the Noldor of Middle-earth were at last united. Yet instead of pressing the attack after their victory, the Noldor established their great cities, focusing on creating a stable domestic life for their people. This gave Morgoth time to prepare new forces. At the Battle of Dagor Agarlib, Morgoth sent his forces to take Dorthonion, but was held back by Angrod and Egnor, who controlled the territory. Eventually, Fingolfin and Maedhros led a counterattack, breaking their ranks and forcing their retreat to Angband. The Noldor placed a guard at the gate, and so began the Siege of Angband.